Hey Math 2221 students, I just want to introduce week number 4 to you. Now week number 4 involves basically initial investments and different types of formulas along those lines with exponential equations. And it starts to integrate also some negative exponents as well, but it does sound a little complex. It's actually not too bad. Many students find week 4 much easier than week 3. In week 3, we had the graphical lines dealing with a lot of slope, and for some reason students just do not like transferring the algebra to graphical form. Now, a lot of students have a tough time with that. But when week 4 comes along, it's like they breathe a sigh of relief. They feel like week 4 was so much easier than week 3. So hopefully a lot of you guys feel that way. And so just like all the other weeks, we're going to have a discussion, get the quiz, Alex Labs, and then Alex homework. So let's just quickly look over some of the things, and let's go over the Alex Labs first. Well, for the Alex system, I just want to mention a couple things. Now, first, the first week, you guys have done a great job. Now, if you take a look here, this represents the entire class, so no one singled out. This represents the whole class here. Week 1, 98% completion. That's great. But then it slowly starts to fall off here in week 2. We're sitting at 88% complete. Then week 3, it drops off quite a bit to 72% complete. So now some of you guys have it all complete, which is great. But others, you want to make sure you go back and you complete those Alex Labs. They're actually worth the most points in the course. And a lot of times at the end of the course, students wonder why they have a D or not a passing grade. And I point out, I was like, you can do the Alex Labs. You're running out of time, but those are the things that are worth the most points and are often neglected. But this class got started off to that had a great start to Alex Labs, and now it's starting to slowly taper off here, and hopefully everyone will go back and complete those labs that are not complete. So that's the Alex Labs. Make sure you're working on those diligently and completing them. But now let's look at the discussion real quick here. So discussion for this week involves initial investment and future value money, present value money. It involves a bunch of different things. So when you're looking at this discussion, it basically asks you to come up with something that you would eventually want to buy. And it could be a vehicle, boat, trip. It could be all sorts of different things. And it says pick a value between $2,000 and $50,000. Now, just in general, you want to make sure you state the desired item, how much it'll cost in 12 years, the interest rate you have chosen to go with for part 2. Now, the interest rate, basically what that's referring to is you want to look at the present value of money. So later on in the future, say you need $10,000 to pay a student loan or to fund some type of college account for your kids. And so that's what you need in 12 years. Well, what do you have to invest now, say at 5% interest, in order to get that 10,000 in 12 years? So you have to remember, money, if you have a guaranteed interest rate, money will build over time. And so say that you started with 8,000 in 12 years with a certain interest rate, it will get up to 10,000. And so let's just go through a scenario here and say I want to take my wife on a cruise through Italy, France, one of those Mediterranean cruises. I have no idea what they actually cost, but let's just say that they cost 25,000. I shouldn't pick 25,000 because I'll never be able to afford that, but that's another story. So 25,000. So that's what I need. That's what I'm going to need in the future to pay for this crazy, luxurious cruise throughout the Mediterranean. And so what you want to do is actually in the discussion it says to make sure you go to page 270. So let's get that e-textbook up. Here it is, page 270. It says you want to use this formula here. P equals A 1 plus R close parentheses to the negative n. All right, so let's take a look at that. So we have P equals A parenthesis 1 plus r raised to the negative n. So P represents present value. So what is that 25,000 going to be worth right now? And so that's what we're trying to find. So I'm trying to find the present value of that money. So it's going to be 25,000. And then it's going to be 1 plus r. Well, what is that r? Well, let's think about that r. R is going to be the rate. So say I go to a bank, and the bank is telling me, I'm going to guarantee you 8% interest over the 12 years if you invest that money with me. Oh, 8% interest, hey, that's a great rate. All right, so a lot of times when students see that 8%, they'll put 8 in there. You don't want to put 8 in there because 8%, that doesn't translate to what the actual rate is in a formula. It's 0.08. And then that is a negative exponent there, so it's a negative. And we want to know, hey, 12 years from now, what's going on? You know, so how much do I need now for 12 years for it to be worth 25,000? Now, there's some things throughout the discussion where you want to make sure that you include some of these vocab words: power, reciprocal, negative exponent, position, rules of exponents. And so when you have this negative exponent, that tells you a direction. That actually puts this, what's in the parenthesis, not everything, but what's in the parenthesis in the denominator. And so you can start to use some of those vocab words throughout all these steps. So make sure you try to incorporate all of those. So the most common mistake where students lose points for this discussion is in 2 spots. They don't use the vocab words, they don't explain their steps. And one more thing is they usually forget to answer this last question. Does the formula look familiar to any other formulas you're aware of? So those are the key things where students lose points on. But so it's so let's get back to the work. So now here we have this negative 12 exponent. That makes that go to the denominator. And that's over that 1 plus 0.0. Now, I just made this extra step. You could have actually just said 1.08, but I just showed the whole thing goes down there. Now, as soon as that negative 12 exponent, as soon as you take care of the negative exponent is now gone. And so from here, you can take out one of those handy dandy calculators. There's this one here that's built into Windows systems, and the Mac has one very similar. I also posted this one here in the open announcements where you can download this. This is a TI-83. Now the app, I'm more than positive the app does not work for Apple products. It for some reason only works for Windows. But we can actually go ahead and input this. Now, I'm actually going to input the whole thing in, because it's always best to round at the end. So 25,000 divide by parenthesis 1.08 close parenthesis raised to the 12th power. And so that ends up to be $9,927.84. So the present value of that 25,000 at an 8% interest is, one more time, 9,927.84. So if you are so lucky to actually get something that is 8% interest, which well, I wish. But if you were so lucky to get that, and you wanted to save up to buy a $25,000 whatever, it would be valued at just under $10,000 today. So you would need about $9,927, and with 8% interest over 12 years, and it'll actually end up being right around that $25,000 mark. So what this formula does again is it says, all right, I need some certain amount in the future. And if I invest it, well, all right, I need that amount. What do I need now to get to my goal? So that's what this formula shows you. So once again, the most common places where students make mistakes for this is they actually just forget to use the vocab words. And they also forget this last question. And many times they might answer it, but they don't say why. They don't explain. So make sure you're explaining your steps. Make sure you're going through and using all the vocab words. And I'm more than positive that you guys will get full credit, because students usually do extremely well with this discussion board. So again, this is week number 4 for Math 221 students. If you have any questions, make sure you let me know. I'm here to assist.